So, this is the Scottish-England border part 2 video on Porton Down, on the death camps, and on the fact that the bosses at MOD and in the British government are both Germans with the same name, which is Pfeffer. Yeah, which is pepper, which is hot stuff, and that, like the nerve gases, leads to the ovens and the ashes. And there is the rather shady Scotland now, because it's under the thrall of the English regime. Even although it's called the SNP, all of it is a mafia operation. And there is the English border with the sun shining down on it, except for that massive shadow over that hill in the middle. I don't know the geography of this region too well, but we're right on the border if you're standing on this road. Okay, so let's get back. Let's get back to the companies that we were profiling in part 1. This is the Deutsche Post Insurance Limited, and let's go to the one that actually shut the video down. Right in the middle, I've got a 16 gigabyte disk that was in. 10 gigabytes had been used, but they managed to close the video when I mentioned the Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited. That is the secret services running the mail in an alien country as you try and take it over. They've already done that with Britain. You might have noticed that all of that happened in 1714, and that is the Glorious Revolution and the release of all the Dutch and German systems into British religion and British militias, and that is why they've become so coherent. So this is the Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited, and I was just about to read out the net worth of that is 28.2 million when the camera shut down with 6 gigs left on board. Yeah, I've had to clear the disk that drives the camera. There is the assets are 40.5 million and the liabilities are 12.4 million with a net worth of 28.2 million. Chicken feed really, but that is in peacetime right through, so you can send secret messages to your friends, but only the Rothschilds are allowed to open them and see what's in there. Yeah, which is why the head of the MOD and the head of the government is called Pfeffer, Piper. Yeah, it's the preparing them all to take them with the bagpipes and the pipes, like the rats in the Pied Piper of Hamelin's story, to their deaths for profit. Yeah, there's another one in 8 Salisbury Square, that's close up to Porton Down, Deutsche Post Global Mail Services Limited. And there's only 4 of these ones, because that is reasonably civilized and you're not inventing things that will kill people. But you are planning that. And the sun's gone in again. Okay, so that is Deutsche Post Global Mail Services. Is the third of 4. It's got no money at the bank, it's got no money net worth, it's got no assets nor liabilities, nor has Deutsche Post International BV. Let me remind you what BV is and what the colour of the organisation that is the postal service is. Isn't that lovely? Even in daylight, with the sun under a massive cloud. DHL. Let's see if it's anything to do with it. So it's very difficult now because the sun is gone in complete disgust. Yeah, that is the takeover of Britain in 1714, and then again several times post-referendum. Yeah, all of it a massive Muppet show, and all of it run by German figureheads, including Boris Johnson, who's Boris Pfeffer. And there are the residual rays of the sun god and the master of the universe under the influence of Piso and the polis and MOD, the Ministry of Defence, the heads of the armies. Let's find you the names of their characters now. Yeah, DHL. We cannot get it in focus. Right then. But what we were doing when we lost access was beginning to interrogate the business register. There's DHL Limited, Free Business Summary. That is the one I've just done, I think. It's Bathgate, West Lothian, accounts not filed, directors only one. Let's keep going and see what we find. Deutsche Post Company and director search. I think this is the one that crashed us. And we might now have lost access to the internet. Could just be my anorak. There we go. So there's the Deutsche Post Global. That's the one that crashed us the last time. There's Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited. We're going into that as a free business summary now. And it's got 6 directors, but many of them will have resigned. Only 6 are still directors. Let's have a look at who they are. There we go. Mr. Lars Landewee, Miss Samantha Goodland, Dr. Oliver Sukowoski, Mr. Sebastian Dijpenbroek. Yeah, very Germanic name. Dijpenbroek. Sebastian Dijpenbroek. Oh, that's the same one. He's a director and a secretary at the same time. And there are hundreds of these. This is just the mail and the MOD and the organisation with the French and the northern Baltic countries, what we're going to do in the next war when we spark it, and how we're going to fuck up the economy by telling the world stories about diseases like Ebola, which was part of the Porton Down programme. Right then, so let's just keep going. We need to get G4S into this. That is law enforcement Britain. That is the vans that took me to jail, and I will have my revenge on them in this life or the next. There is Mr. Sebastian Diepenbroek's details. DHL Global. That is not just Britain's post now. That is this opening of every letter that is sent globally for cash, for Rothschild, but you're not allowed to say that bit. Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited, active, and this one's still a director with that lovely Germanic name. Let's keep going before the batteries fail again. The hard disk. This time it's Deutsche, and this has got much larger boards. Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited. So we'll do the boards on there when we've had a look. Oh no, let's just get some of it done so we can show you who's in charge of this. So Brenda Rees might actually be English. Mr. Ian Dowie, Mr. Joachim Schluchener, Trusek Limited, Dr. Donald Edward Brooks, remember Hannah Mary's husband is a Brookfield, Insa Speckman, yeah, and the Brookses of my hometown, somewhere in the middle, over there, are the owners of the fabulous Ednam House Hotel, and that is where Alistair Brooks and his parents were Colditz victims, aka double agents in the war. Already explained on my website and in multiple videos, which is why Lady Jane Grosvenor is not speaking to me now. And she's beginning to give back the fisheries that they stole from the people when she was the Duchess of Roxburgh, because she's a populist. And even the chimneys, when they catch fire here, are Rothschild blue. Isn't that quaint? And there's IG Farben's nerve gas rays coming out at the bottom. Do you get it? Everything is humour at the killing of your kin. Poor Celine. So, Brooks, Speckman, Gunter Wallachek, Kilmzik, Napik. Page 2 is next. This is directors for Deutsche Post Global Mail UK. And Hitler actually trained in Liverpool so that he could be a snitch on the postage system too. There's Michael Alan Noel Goddard, Michael Proffitt, Proffitt. Do you see the need for the FF letters, Boris? Mr. Jürgen Gerdes, Mr. John Joseph Ivers, Mr. Torsten Lund, Mr. Christian Stifel Hagen. Yeah, everything is the Stifel Eiffel Pfeffer joke. Mr. Victor Frederick Metz, Mr. Paul William Coutts, which is a massive link to the Earls of Home, the suicidal deaths of their banking owners and the ownership of the Coutts in the ponds in the town that I'm now living in. Thank you to some of the citizens for your support and your loyalty and coming forward and telling me that. Mr. Marcus Olenil, Excel Secretarial Services Limited. Page 3 of 4 now. Mr. Andrew Civiter, Mr. Sebastian Peter, Mr. Peter Brocham, Mr. Anthony Frederick Cooper, Miss Bettina Anita Staffia, Dr. Oliver Sukowski, Mr. Morton Wilberg, Mrs. Jane Lee of the Lee Mafias of China and the billionaires of the same place. Yeah, on Forbes, Mr. Lars Landawee, Mr. Peter Stanley Fuller. That's the Fullers of the laundries in Naples. Yeah, and that is the Piso family's earliest relatives. Page 4 of 4. Lars Landawee again, Samantha Goodland, Oliver Sukowski, Sebastian Diepenbrock, and just because I missed one on the previous page, let's go back and see that. So that was, we missed, what did we miss? There it is, Mr. Morton Wilberg, Earls of Morton. Yeah. That is the Batman for Winston Churchill and Butcher Haig. Yeah, same man, Desmond Morton. This one is Mr. Morton Vilberg. Right then, let's get on to G4S and the scams. Company check, error. Oh no, no way out. Oh, it's Mr. Paul William Coutts of the Earl of Holmes Banks. Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited is his first company name. Yeah, that's the Helen Hirschel joke for the Hirschels on the Rothschild family tree. All of it ultra subtle into the Hollywood movies and then shagging the virginal person before she gets beaten up by Ralph Fiennes, who I've just noticed this morning is a dead ringer in the Rothschild man that is Lord Jacob Rothschild's early days. He's a lookalike for Fiennes in the photos. Look it up for yourself. It will not be there very much longer. The next company is DHL, that's the Deutsche Dunst, yeah, Prince Philip Companies, Global Match UK Limited, Speed Mail International Limited, and the first two are still active. That's Deutsche Post Global Mail UK Limited, still active, and Paul William Coutts is director, so he's not yet suicided. Yeah, like his ancestors in that massive place at the end of that road that is run by Wynne Williams, which is also the name, the maiden name of the Duke of Roxburgh's widow. Right then, we've got no sun god left. And England is still doing okay, as you all know. That's because Boris is a double agent and he's called Pfeffer too. Right then, company corporate number 1234556. This is the 8th number, and it's DHL Deutsche Dunst Supply Chain International Limited. Hello, son. Right next to Mr. Paul William Coutts. So this is DHL Supply Chain International Limited. Age 63 years, which takes us right back to World War II. Okay, DHL Supply Chain International Limited, company type private limited with share capital. Private limited with share capital. Company status, let's just get on. Yeah, that's more of the same. 63 years old. It was finished. It was started when the war was finished. And Prince Philip's activity as a Deutsche DVD Nazi was started right in the middle of peacetime too, 1937. Yeah, that is the Nazi funerals that he attended. All of the DVD stuff has been happening ever since, with massive traitors like him in charge of Britain and the ownership of its banks and its armies. He was a naval man and loved to be shagged, would lie on the deck until some of the navy guys got him up the rear. All of it told by Greg Hallett, who was later killed by Prince Philip and his relatives and the Rothschild family, who are their bosses. Greg Hallett's death. DHL Supply Chain International Limited. age 63 years, 3 directors this time. Let's have a look at them. And we'll maybe never get, there they are, Robert Vickers, Stolbo, Cass, Harvey, Gould, Kalka, Mollison, Farley, Evans. Yeah, let's go on until we get to the British police and how they are privatised now, Lord Condon. Yeah, who's got a lordship because he's a mafia member, like Ralph Fiennes is now a knight. Yeah, there's DHL, the Deutsche Supply Chain International Limited credit report, company type, private limited with share capital. Nice little earner when you've killed everything that moves in your uniforms. Right then, let's just keep going until we get DHL Supply, shareholders, new PGB, Mr. Keith James Austin again. Yeah, and he's got a few directorates. Ocean House, The Ring, Bracknell, Berkshire, about Mr. Keith James. Yeah, total directorships. That will not stop me moving on. That is the stories about Austin and the Hitler Youth training of Angela Merkel and the Austin that she trained with in Hitler Youth, who's doing okay. He does not have shareholdings, I don't think, but he has 100 corporate directorships. 100 is the code for Arius Calpurnius Pisa. Right then, company directors associated with Mr. Keith James Austin. That will take ages to profile, so I will not do it now. Oh, there's another one. Sir David Neil McFarlane, who just happens to be a golfing magnate, like a man called Donald Trump. And that will be explained in a few minutes. It will take several minutes to show you his extensive directorships. He was director of 36 companies, and he's Sir David Neil McFarlane. He's a golfer, like the Hirschel golf course, for Helen Hirsche and the Earls of Home. So, hiya. So, let's profile some of the directors. We have not got enough time to do them all. So there's related directors. Bradford and Bingley Directors Pensions Limited, PB Manufacturing Limited. Yeah, and these are private individuals now. Bernard Gallagher, the golfers. Donald Hanson, Mr. George Arthur Sykes, Lindsay McKinley. This is quite boring though compared to G4S, isn't it? But they have got massive golfing connections. I think it's on his next one. That's Sir David McFarlane, what we just covered. This next one is more interesting, I think. There is Bradford and Bingley Home Loans Limited, Leamington Mortgage Corporation Limited, Bradford and Bingley. Now you get G4S 103 UK Limited. That is at least 103 Ponzi shelves. There is Ponzi shelf number 102. ANS 2000 Limited. That's page 1 for David Neil McFarland, and he's a knight or something like that. Page 2, ANS 2000 Limited. There's the Golf Fund Leek Wooten. There is Golf Fund Limited, G4S International 105 Ponzi Scheme, UK Limited. G-Boss the Third Limited, G-Boss Group Limited, Impala Golf Limited, and even England's under a cloud now. Yeah, all of it is pan-global, and that is G4S that banged me up in the back of their vans with Malcolm Rifkind on the board and Lord Condon on the board, and Malcolm Rifkind is on the committee of 300 with the Queen of England and 12 of her relatives. Only Fergie has taken the fall, despite the Sex Island shame. G-Boss number 3 Limited, G-Boss Group Limited, Impala Golf Limited, Boss Leisure Limited, Bradford and Bingley Directors Pensions Limited, Clubhouse Group Limited, Clemex Investments Limited, and that is page 4. Let's go to the next tab. G4S International 105 UK Limited. Okay, age 59 years, almost like the DVD Deutscht setup, which we started in before we got the links to the Germanic Earls of Home. Yeah, and the Hirschel estate and the Hirsche name that appears all through the Rothschild bloodline tree. G4S International Ponzi Shelf 105 in UK Limited. In other words, this is a pan-global legal scam in inverted commas. 5th floor, south side, 165 Victoria Street, London. G4S Holdings, and we could now go to the directors and see who they are. There's only 4 of them left. Oh no, loads of them have resigned and packed up or been maybe even banged up in the jail, but I doubt it because they are the bosses. Mr. Roger Sidney William Hale Wiggs, Mr. Clive Dunstan Long, Sir Colin Woods, Miss Anne Patricia Munson, Miss Anne Irene Perkins, Mr. David Winter, Sir David Neil McFarlane, we've heard of him before, Mr. Lawrence James Sinton, Mr. Richard George Hawkins, Mr. Robin Bortolom. Then page 2. This is Ponzi Company number 105 UK Limited. Page 2 of the directors is Wiggs, Long, Collingwoods. We've done that before. Oh, do you get Collingwood now? That's the Butlins families for a while. Mr. Andrew Gillen Nicol, Mr. Charles Edward James Wenham, Mr. Edmund Allen Hoch, Mr. Patrick David Howes, crikey, if the grass cutters in Dundee had been given tractors, I would not be the person that I now am. Mr. Christopher Charles Shirtcliffe, Mr. Nigel Edward Griffiths, Mr. Henry William Mackay, possibly on Donald Trump's bloodline tree, Mr. Trevor Leslie Dighton, Mr. Nicholas Peter Buckles, Miss Irene Lavinia Elizabeth Cowden. And Buckles, I believe, is one of my arch enemies in the Yorkshire Post region. Mr. Leonard Keith Gateson, Miss Tina Michelle Rubridge, Mr. Stephen Edward Lyle, Mr. Peter Vincent David, Mr. Celine Arlette Virginie Baroche, Mr. Soren Lindsberg Nielsen. Connie, how are things in Hollywood? That is the murdered ex-wife of Rothschild. Oh, sorry, she suicided. They're not guilty of anything along those lines. But that is why they chose Connie Nielsen as the actor's name for their marriage. Yeah, it's the Nielsen woman has now suicided, and that is the Rothschild story. Way after that was reported, she was still drinking in Witherspoons in Dundee, where I was not allowed to make movies or take pictures. I wonder why. And that was one of Greg Hallett's last sentences too. So, Mr. Himanshu Haridas Raja, Mr. William Andrew Hayes, Mr. Timothy Peter Weller, Miss Celine Arlette Virginie Baroche again. And then we go to Baruch. Oh yeah, presidents in America and Bible authors. Miss Vashali Jacobish Patel, pretty Patel, in the news every night, being sued by the people she's attacked in the cabinet. Now you understand why she's in the news every night. That's Rupert Murdoch's friends at Rupert Murdoch's wedding, and even the lightning strike that hit Lord Jacob Rothschild has been taken out of the footage on my internet because they make the videos that are published on my webpage of the lightning strike at Lord Jacob Rothschild's head. That's the lookalike for Ralph Fiennes in this video. Right then, there's only half a dozen or so Ponzi schemes to report for G4S and Lord Condon and all of the crooked directors. Oh, we're not going to be able to see the actual structure of the company, but there's the money laundering organisations that are the secretaries: Swift, Instant Companies Limited, John Edward Michael Dillon, Office Organisation and Services Limited, Mr. Leon Neal, Mr. Nigel Edward Griffiths, Mr. Christopher Charles Shirtcliffe again, Mr. Roger Sidney Hale Wiggs. Let's just go on to the next one. That's one of many. They have hundreds. That's G4S Holdings 103 UK Limited, with 4 pages each for directors. Mr. Nicholas Peter Buckles. That rang messages in my head when I heard it. And there he is, resigned from 30 on 34. And I'm just going to skip it so we can find the more important ones. Here's Virginie Baroche. G4S Finance South Africa Limited, G4S US Holdings Limited. Do you get it? Pan Global, that is the London Olympics, and everybody that is a shareholder is making a fortune from laughing at the war dead for Britain at the London Olympics. Mr. Bean was the war correspondent for Gallipoli. Yeah, Securicor Limited, in their massive financial syndicate, G4S Americas Holding Limited, G4S Americas UK Limited, G4S International 105 UK Limited, G4S Nominees Limited, G4S Defence Systems. Yeah, that's the port and down we were telling when they crashed the first video with 6 gigs left on the what they claimed was the empty disk. Group 4 Limited, G4S Holdings 3 UK Limited, G4S Aviation France Limited. Do you get it? Yeah, they just want the hungry eaters dead. All of the banks are theirs already. There's nothing else to steal, Hannah Mary, you little bitch. G4S Defence Systems, Eurasia Limited. Right then, and here now we're going to find Céline Arlette Virginie Baroche. G4S US Holdings Limited, Director. Securicor Limited, Director. G4S Americas UK Limited, Director. G4S 105 UK Ponzi Schemes Minimum, Director. G4S Nominees Limited, Director. G4S Defence Systems International Limited, Group 4 Limited. G4S Holdings, and the sun's gone in and I'm getting freezing now, and let's just get rid of the pornography that they put on the side of the screen. And there is Securicor again, G4S Holdings 3 UK Limited, G4S Aviation France Limited, G4S Defence Systems Eurasia Limited, and that is now page 1 finished. So let's go to page 2. This is a global law firm, security firm. They are stealing from many of the countries across the world, and that is now them running the coronavirus and the airport crises, yeah, like they did when it was Ebola. But the gods are cleverer than them, and there could at any time be a real coronavirus. I don't know how they will cope with that personally. So, G4S Holdings International AG Limited, G4S MP UK Limited, yeah, G4S International Holdings Limited, G4S Man Royal Investments Limited. That is Arius Piso's legacy. He's the man. There it is. G4S Finance Limited, First Select Holdings Limited, G4S March 2008 Limited, G4S US Investments Limited, IBG Holdings UK Limited, G4S International Finance PLC. Yeah, and all of these are just being appointed in 2017. They're still on duty as thieves, and possibly in police uniforms. Lord Condon, as you can see, appears to have dropped out. This one's completely untouched, but I don't know about the law side. Right then, page 3 of 4. G4S Corporate Services Limited, G4S Investment London Limited, G4S Financing Limited, G4S Holdings 102 UK Limited, G4S Global Holdings Limited, G4S Finance Brazil Limited, G4S Holdings UK AG Limited, G4S Finance Management AG Limited, G4S Worldwide Holdings Limited, G4S DSL Holdings Limited. Now we're on to the final page for this one woman, that is Céline Arlette Virginie Baroche. And there is G4S Holdings 103 UK Limited, G4S Finance South Africa Limited. This is not yet the golfing corporates. G4S Cash Solutions Holdings Limited, G4S Cash Solutions Corporate Services Limited, G4S Cash Solutions 2019 Limited, G4S Cash 360 International Limited, G4S Cash Solutions Holdings Number 2 Limited, G4S Logistics Group Limited, G4S Logistic Minorities Limited. So now let's go on to the next one, and we might find the golfing syndicate. No, it's G4S Holdings 103 UK Limited, company type private limited with share capital. so you can be robbed blind and your pension can be theirs. And the sun is now gone, except for one tiny little peak in England's close to the border region. And it could well be snowing in Scotland's. Right then, so directors 4. Let's just see who we've got. Griffiths, Shirtliff, Wiggs. We've been listening to them already. So let's move on to Mr. Soren Lunsberg and another Nielsen to cover the marriage to the woman that is now suicided. And there is, she's doing okay. Okay, so related directors. No, let's find the golf syndicate first. That's the Nielsen Women's. Here's Marlaw Secretaries Limited. I think this is the golf. Yeah, they're doing okay. And the golf appears to have been taken down by someone. Not by me. Companies, let's have a look at Marlaw Secretaries. Bishop 201 Bishopsgate, London, EC2M 3AF. 1,722 resigned directorships. Total directors at one point 1921, and closed directorships there. So this could be the golfing company, otherwise they've been sabotaged. And let's have a look at related directors. Oh no, that will take ages for something of this scale. Thorn Finance. None of the director names have come up yet. So where the heck is the Singapore Post? All of it is relevant to that German company that we were talking about and how they post secretly to all of their customers and vice versa. There's the William Wynne Westcott linkages to the naming of the Earls of Holmes women. Was a coroner, ceremonial magician, theosophist, Freemason born in Leamington, Warwickshire, England. Wynne Williams, both the Duke of Roxburgh and the Earl of Holmes women. So someone has taken down the images of the massive cricketing syndicate that were linked to the directors of G4S. Let's just see if Buckles or some of the earlier things deal with that issue. And I'm going to have to get in and catch the bus again. But it's been quite good fun, yeah. But still, the biggest news, those are global golf courses used for the biggest tournaments in the world, and the director ownership for it. So that's David Neil McFarland. I think it's him that has them on his companies. But we don't seem to have access to the internet now. And I'm going to have to get warmed up. Antivirus update available. Company check director David Neil McFarland companies, but it's not going to give us them. This will be the golf clubs. So it's not going to show us for him what the directorates are. There are other ways I'll have to use them, and I'll let you know which golf companies globally are run by the syndicate. Yeah, that is G4S and Princess Anne and Lord Condon and all of the scams of the London Olympics where G4S did not turn up. They got paid to be there, and the British Army had to man the gates and the turnstiles. Lovely families, aren't they? I think I'll stop there because I'm getting too cold and I don't want to miss the bus. And the sun god has left us totally now in Scotland, and you can see that he's just catching the last of the Cheviot Hills that we can see at the right and left of that massive valley that we're looking into. Yeah. David Neil McFarland companies, they're not going to show us it. Yeah, and I think that David Neil McFarland is the link to the Earl of Home. Oh, here we go. Companies. The Warwickshire Club Limited, the Lichfield Golf and Country Club Limited, FX Group Limited, Hipposa Limited, World Sport Networks Europe Limited, Golf Fund at Stansted Limited. This is page 1. Scottish Open Golf Championship Limited, PGA European Tour Properties Limited, PB Manufacturing Limited, CPMA Group Limited, Golf Fund CD Mill Limited, and let's just see what happens when we go to another page. So that's page 1, page 2. Hello. So that's Golf Fund Leek Wooten Limited. I think we've done that. Golf Fund Limited, G4S International, 105 UK Limited, GBOS 3 Limited, GBOS Group Limited, Impala Group Limited, Bradford and Bingley Directors Pensions Limited, Clubhouse Group Limited, Cemex Investments Limited. You know about the cornerstone if you're not in the inner circle. Just an ordinary working person like me. Right then, page 3 of 4. And that could of course be Golf Fund Leek of Royal Wootton Bassett, but it's just Leek Wootton Limited. That's where the dead come back from the wars in the coffins for David Cameron's syndicate. The Warwickshire Club Limited, the Warwickshire Golf and Country Club Limited, DHL Distribution Holdings UK Limited, Securicor Limited, Carnegie Robertson Black Limited, Andrew Carnegie, philanthropist in inverted commas, Snam Shrew 1 Limited, G4S SPV Holdings Limited, Cemex US Executives Pension Trust Limited, Cemex UK Pension Trust Limited, ANS Limited. Do you see how insecure the pensions of the heroes that went to those wars to steal other people's oil? Yeah, and that is the Warwickshire Club Limited, and that is Tom of Warwick that admired King Arthur's achievements in fucking Warwickshire. It is an ultra quake prone place, but not many people know that. That's earthquakes for the behaviours that the humans get up to. Right then, so last page of the golf clubs. Bradford and Bingley Home Loans Limited, Leamington Mortgage Corporation Limited, Bradford and Bingley Mortgage Management Limited, G4S Holdings 103 UK Limited, G4S Holdings 102 UK Limited, ANS 2000 Limited, and that one's been dissolved. Everything else is still active. That's G4S and the crashing of their company before the London Olympics, which made them engage British troops as the security keepers. They did not get paid. They lose their lives in those lands that are being taken over by the syndicate that is run by the cabinet members that Boris has picked and Cameron used to pick. I'm going to stop there because it's getting really cold, and I'm going to remind you that the whole of it is the Deutsche Dunst movement that we profiled with that picture. Yeah, everything is a secret service. There is the mission statement for DHL, Deutsche Post, DHL Group, history of the Deutsche Post and the French Revolution. Do you get it? All our allies are on the take, like all our enemies, and only the troops need to worry about returning from the war. And there's another one, all of it in Rothschild yellow. Deutsche Post DHL Group Limited, and there is their little yellow, Rothschild yellow packages. Okay, I think we'll stop there. But no, before we leave, let's remember that Boris Johnson is a Nazi. Let's remind you that his name, like the intelligence official that runs, that is Pfeffer, is Boris's real surname. That is how you pronounce pepper in Germany. That is the head of the MOD, and that is the head of the British government. I think we'll stop there now. So watch video number 1 on this theme, and you'll see GCHQ. You'll see all of the intel operations that GCHQ engage in. This is the boss. Yeah, he's a fair age now. He was a British civil servant who was the director of the government communication headquarters. Now he's head of MOD. Yeah, his name is Pfeffer, like Boris Johnson's is Pfeffer. Yeah, that is the insertion of Johnson instead of Pfeffer to make him sound more English. All of them are Nazis, and that is the DVD Deutscht and all the money laundering profiling that we've shown you, and the killing of all of those people in the Holy Lands, bringing their coffins back, and the profiteering from that by David Cameron. Yeah, let's stop now, and let's show you the beautiful surroundings again. Yeah, the sun's gone, and that is because of the nature of the news and the way that the world is run. Totally for greed, selfishness, and the killing of your enemy, even although you have been planning the war with them right up to the first moment. Yeah, and there's the sun's rays now peeking through a tiny little corner. Yeah. and that could be the bus. Anyway, bye bye. So there is England, and there is Scotland, and you can see the snow on the mountains. Total mafia operation all the way from, what was this story? Something to Penzance. Yeah, that's the top of the Scottish nation to Penzance at the bottom of the English one. It is now totally corrupted. And everybody can read and write, and everybody can understand everything that they are now told, but they prefer to watch the sport on the telly. Yeah, and that has been the same since the gladiators went to the Colosseum. Under Emperor Augustus' reign in 4 AD, and that is Donald Trump's golf course called Augusta, who may well be aligned with G4S and the scamsters. Poor Princess Anne, what a reputation to have. She favours getting the numbers down from billions, and she wants to be rid of those hungry eaters. And she's the most well behaved of the royal family this year. Bye. I thought I was going to get help walking home. It's Arctic now.